This is the inside of the Elddis Majestic 105. If we firstly move to the main control panel, we can turn the 12 volt on just here. Beside that we have water pump on and off. Whenever the water pump is running, the green light will illuminate to let you know. Underneath the master switch we then have the isolator for all of the onboard lights. These can all then be individually turned on and off on their own switches. And then we have awning light just here. This button here gives us a condition of the leisure battery, and this button here will let us know how much water is in the fresh tank. Beneath that we then have the control panel for the whale heating and hot water system. You'll see we have water heater here and we have heating here. If I now press, you'll see it will illuminate, and as I press it, a series of icons will appear. If we start with the first icon just here, little picture of a snowflake, this is the boiler's frost protection mode. So if the temperature outside drops below about 3-4 degrees, the frost protection mode will kick in to avoid any frost damage occurring to the boiler. We then have a wavy line. Wavy lines represent mains electricity. I always round it up just to make it easier, so I class this as about 1 kilowatt. We then have two wavy lines, so mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. So these two settings are just dependent on the amperage of the site that you're on to try and avoid tripping. If we have no main supply at all, we can run the boiler on gas with a little picture of the flame. And if we have both power sources available to us, we can run in dual fuel, so we can run on a mixture of gas and mains electricity at 1 kilowatt and a mixture of gas and mains electricity at 2 kilowatts. These settings here are extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. You will now see that a little flame's appeared. A flame will always appear whenever the system is using gas. If we now move to the lower, we have heating. So again, if I now press, you'll see a series of icons until we eventually end back up at off. Again, we have main supply, but this time this represents about 500 watts. We then have main supply about 1 kilowatt, and then 2 kilowatts, gas on its own again, and then dual fuel. Control your temperature on the plus and minus just here. The little moon here is what Whale recommend as a night mode. The heat is low, and secondly the fan noise will be limited. Again, whenever it's consuming gas, a flame will appear. If either of the units malfunction, a red exclamation mark will appear where my finger is here for the water heater and here for the heating. To find out what the problem is, if it's a water heater issue, hold it down and then a series of red lights will appear. And obviously if it's a heating issue, same again, hold it down, a series of red lights will appear. And then if you look in the manual or you Google it, it will tell you what the problem is. 9 times out of 10 it will be something relatively basic. I don't have main supply, I don't have gas, etc. Once you think you've rectified the problem, you will need to reset the control panel. So if it's a water heater issue, firstly press this down and then hold the plus together. And then for your heating, again hold this down and then press the plus button together, and that will then clear the error. If we now move across to the bench seat just here and we remove the cushions, we can now raise and get underneath the bench. You'll see we have a small amount of storage underneath here. We also have the consumer unit just here. So we have the individual MCBs.
They are all labelled up, and then we have the main RCD and the test button just here. So if something's not working on main supply, it's your first port of call just to see whether or not you've tripped inside the van. Down here we then have the 12 volt fuses. Again, they are all labelled up, and if something's not working on 12 volt, just check to see whether or not you popped a fuse. These Majestics are fully winterized and both tanks have heaters in them. This is the isolator switch just here. If it's turned on like it is now and there's water in the tanks and the outside temperature drops below 3-4 degrees, the tank heaters will come on to avoid any frost damage occurring to the tanks. Back of the battery box just here. Here we have the main 12 volt fuse. We then have the water pump just here and the surge dampener. This just helps to avoid any pump shudder occurring. We then have the boiler itself. So on these models they're sunk underneath the motorhome. To drain the boiler down, it's all done just here. At the moment we're in the closed position. To drain the boiler down, all we need to do is firstly make sure the water pump is turned off, and then we just literally flap it across like so, and it will then drop all the water out of the boiler. As you can hear, I haven't turned the water pump off, so what it's now frantically trying to do is refill the boiler back up again. So it is that simple to refill it. All we do is make sure that the valve is back across as it is now, fill up the fresh water tank, turn the water pump on, and it will then begin to prime the system back up again. I always suggest that when fully draining down for winter, when we drain this boiler here, we also open up all the taps inside the motorhome. This will aid basically avoiding any airlocks in the system, and then hopefully it will fully drain off. When you are repriming again after a full winter drain down, you will, after a few minutes of the pump running, need to open your taps up. They'll cough, they'll splutter as they force all the air out of the system. Wait until they're running freely on hot and cold, and then close them back down again, and then the system will fully reprime itself. If we now close this back up again, underneath the opposite bench seat you will find just storage. Smoke alarm and carbon monoxide alarm just up here, both battery operated, so test them every now and then to make sure they are functioning. We have the Majestic fridge just here. So at the moment we're in the off position. Mains electricity with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. 12 volt maintain to keep the fridge cold whilst we're on the move. Engine does need to be running for this to be able to work. And then lastly we have gas. If we are going to use gas to power the fridge, we need to come across to the temperature control, hold it in, and then push the igniter. And what we want is this line here to drift out of the white into the green to indicate that it has lit. Once you let go, as long as it stays in the green, it's all good. Obviously if it drops back off into the white, just repeat the process. Push down to open. And we have the removable freezer box just here. And then the fridge. Microwave just here. Do make sure that the contents are removed for travel. This will only work when hooked up to main supply. Behaves like most modern microwaves now. We have quick start, stop just here, time set just by twisting. We also have power, etc., defrost, all just there. Hob just here, so we have the electric hot plate which operates just here. Red light comes on to let you know it's in operation. Then we have the 3 gas rings. With these it's push in, twist, and then come down to the front of the cooker and press the igniter. With the oven pushing to the left and then if we go back to the off position and then push in to the right, we can then fire up the grill. Beneath the oven we have storage. You will find there's a plug plugged in which is for the electric hot plate, and you will find the majority of the gas taps for the motorhome just here. They are all in the on position, and quite frankly all of them can stay that way. They are more for maintenance than anything else. I always say if you smell gas in the motorhome, just go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. Within the wardrobe we have the freestanding table. We also have the television aerial. So we have the booster box just here. Control the boost on the inner dial here, on and off just here. The aerial mast itself sits here. To raise the mast up, undo the collar and then push up. Twist it into the position that you require and then lock it into place. We can also take the aerial from horizontal into a vertical position by twisting the tail just here if required, and then it's just a matter of attaching your television to the bracket and then plugging it in down here. Do make sure that the aerial is down for travel. Try to avoid over tightening this collar as you can split the plastic. Also in here we have the solar panel regulator. On these Majestics they are usually only wired up to the leisure battery, but this one has also been wired up to the vehicle battery. So you can see currently at the moment we've got two solid green lights, meaning that the batteries are fully charged. Whenever the solar is charging them, they will steadily flash. If we now come into the washroom, we have the Thetford toilet just here. To open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across. Push to flush on the top. Level indicator also on the top just here. This will illuminate when the cassette requires emptying. Close back up again. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you feel resistance, just check to make sure nobody's left it open. We then have the basin just here and the shower cubicle. Do make sure with the shower cubicle that the shower screen is secure for travel. Above my head just here is the Omnivent fan. To raise the roof vent, just twist, and then we have middle button here which will turn the unit on, and then we have arrows out for extraction and arrows in for cooling. Variable fan speed by pressing.
Do make sure that all roof vents are down again for travel. Just beside the Omnivent fan is the PIR sensor for the alarm. Press the button, no different than you would for the smoke alarm and carbon monoxide alarm, to check that it is functioning, as it does require batteries. With the beds, this model can have 2 singles or 1 double. If you're going to be using it in the singles, you need to rotate the seats around, like I've already done with this one just here. They rotate just by pulling the lever and then spinning it round. So now we've got this seat fully round, all I personally then do is slightly still pull this out and then get this cushion and drop it down the back. This will still, with 2 singles, still give you a walkway in the middle, and then all we then need to do is just adjust the seat. It is height adjustable, just on these levers just here, to get it into the position that you require. And then we have a decent size single. If you're going to have it as a double, it's just a matter of meeting both parts together and then just sliding all the cushions into position. So these ones to here, and then literally, as you can get the idea, that one would then slot in there.